Bendy and the Dark Revival is a sequel to one of my favorite games of all time, Bendy and the Ink Machine. I've already platinumed the first game, so now in today's video I'm gonna platinum the sequel. Will it be better than the first, or will it be a massive disappointment? Who's to know? However, the game only includes 35 achievements, which most belong to the story, with a few for collectibles and other specific trophies. The game opens up with a character named Audrey. She is the person you play as. Audrey then says she wants some coffee, but me being the dedicated worker I am, I stay for 20 whole minutes for the game to end, as we never get transported to the inky world. This in turn gives me the easiest trophy of the game. I then decide to check out how good I look, because I am a narcissist, and doing so 5 times gets a little jump scare, but I do get the trophy time to reflect on how good I look. The last missable trophy at the start of the game I can get is by collecting all the rubber balls and dunking them into this janitor bucket, after which a rejected Muppet coughs up the balls and disappears. A random occurrence. I enter the elevator to go down and get my coffee, but we are stopped by what everyone can see, well except for him, a classical villain. We take our descent, only for the elevator to coincidentally malfunction, leaving me trapped with Wilson. He restores the power even though he's a janitor and not an electrician, opening the path forward. To progress through, I have to steal some parts for this exhibit, after which Wilson tells me to pull a lever. Now the blind baboon reveals his plan. He then forces me into the ink, starting up chapter 1. However, I would receive a trophy for collecting all the parts to the exhibit. We wake up in the studio and Audrey, as any reasonable person, is having a severe panic attack. But as a veteran to these games, I persevere. Eventually, we wound up in the Heavenly Toys where we meet up with an old pal, Alice. She basically gives Audrey a crash course on survival before leaving. Completing the encounter will get me a trophy. After some exploring, I would wound up in Animation Alley. Inside, I would need to find a gem pipe to break a lock, preventing me from continuing. After removing said gem pipe from the crucified person, I would receive a trophy for becoming a mass murderer. A bit later, Audrey gets a schizophrenic episode. She ends up fighting it and unlocks the Banish, which is a sneak attack that instantly kills the enemy, as well as restoring some health, which was crucial for my no-death run. Getting the banishing power awards me a trophy. Just before the end of chapter 1, I get to meet a Bendy that doesn't actually want to kill me. I end up luring him in before touching him inappropriately, leaving him traumatized and running off in fear. I get to the hallway, marking an end to chapter 1, but of course they needed to add a little scare before letting me through, so the handle opening the door is stuck and the ink demon appears. But this man is slower than a snail sleeping, so I make it through. This ends chapter 1 and gets me a trophy. The next chapter has us go on a fetch quest to retrieve this Discord moderator's graphic images. After retrieving them all, he tries to attack us, so I give him a brain aneurysm and some expensive hospital bills. In the next room, I would fail at a basic children's puzzle an embarrassing amount, until my 2 brain cells finally piece it together and I get through. On the other side is a missable trophy. I have to unleash this decayed body, then finish the game while it sometimes scares you throughout. I do a few more puzzles before coming to a dead end. I have to lower this pipe to use as a bridge. Whilst this happens, the ink demon appears, so I have to hide, just like your parents hide the fact that you're adopted. I then meet up with a special man that needs my help. So being the good Samaritan I am, I send him pummeling down a pipe without even saying goodbye. However, I follow, and as a reward for helping him, he gives me the flow ability, allowing me to teleport and break all laws of physics. Not long after meeting Poffers, I would find myself being hunted by the ink demon, and escaping his grasp would allow me to finish chapter 2 for the end of chapter 2 trophy. Chapter 3 wasn't much, except for the fact we had to fight some alien-inspired wannabes, which I've got to say was one of the hardest bosses in the game. However, I eventually get the upper hand and take it down. I then met the man himself, or rather a memory, Joey Drew. He gives us some deep, meaningful lessons, and just like Uncle Ben, he disappears from our life. I then also dethrone a king and become the new ruler. I met up with baby Bendy again, and we became friends. That is the end of chapter 3, and during it, I got 3 trophies. Chapter 4 had us reunite with Joey as he gave us a brain aneurysm. He then showed us a PowerPoint presentation about how Audrey is actually an ink person. As a regular person, she freaks out about this news and Joey sends her back. We then make it to the Gent building where we are attacked by the Ink Demon, only for the game to reveal that Ink Demon was baby Bendy all along. Wow, what a surprise. I didn't see that coming, just like Wilson. Anyway, we sneak through the Gent Corp and find a familiar friend, Henry, from the first game. He's gone a bit cuckoo, but he tells us about the cycle breaks. We then get captured by a keeper and transported to Wilson. That sums up Chapter 4, and during I got 2 trophies. Chapter 5 has us get kidnapped by OG Alice. We then survive her puzzle and she gets very infuriated. So as a reasonable psychopath, she tries to blow our brains out with a Tommy gun. We disable the protections and go to touch her inappropriately. She blocks and we both fall off the balcony. We are then saved by the other Alice as the two share a sisterly bond. We meet up with Wilson where he reveals his plan to eradicate the Ink Demon, but unfortunately he wants to sacrifice us to make it happen. So as a reasonable individual, we refuse, so he tries to force us in. We retaliate and push him inside, where he gets chopped up and his remains are left on the floor. I initiate the fight with the now divine Wilson. He gives us a clue on how to defeat him, so I do just that. Banishing the soul, however, the monster is still intact and tries to kill me, but my dashing Ink Demon comes to my rescue and saves me. Since I'm helpless, he emerges with me. Joey speaks to us about having a heart before Bendy crushes his spine, leaving Audrey fatherless. With a twist of fate, Audrey takes control of the Ink Demon and runs away from her problems. When we emerge from the dark puddles, I get to control the Ink Demon himself. Charging through the onslaught of people, we meet up with some old friends, like Alice, meeting old rivals like Sammy Lawrence, who had one of the funniest deaths ever, and we eventually meet Henry Stein. When we arrive at the projector, we flashed Bendy in a not so good way, and the cycle broke, ending the game. With the game finished, I got 6 trophies relating to difficulty. I then got an extra trophy for completing the game Deathless, which was very hard. I also got all the collectibles, them being the memos, audio logs, living illusion books, power-ups, and memories, landing me a total of 5 trophies. Now all that is left is the cleanup. I now move on to the combat-related stuff. The first of which is to banish a total of 25 enemies, which took a little bit longer than I expected, but was rather painless. This got me the Back to the Puddles trophy. I would receive 3 more trophies like this for killing 25 enemies with the Shock upgrade, which was pretty stunning, as well as surviving 25 Ink Demon attacks, and the last one being to fully upgrade the Gem Pipe, because I only deserve the finest in my weaponry. The last 5 trophies to get are being a glutton and eating a grand total of 100 foods, spending my hard-earned money savings on coffee like someone that goes to Starbucks, listening to an average Twitter user, saying hello to an old friend, that is the Meatleys posters, and finally, the last trophy is the Toyman Secret, this little robot figure here, and that's the Platinum. I hope you all liked the video, and when the next Bendy game releases, I'll make sure to platinum that one. But as for this game, I would say it's decently as good as the original, if not better. Make sure to leave a like, and if you are new, subscribe whilst you're at it. But if you want to see me suffer, check out my Crash 4 Platinum I'll leave on screen.